Well, you know, my first work was a book called Tulsa, which was published in 1971, and it was photographs of me and my friends over a 10-year period, starting in 1962. The Tulsa book was about us all taking drugs over a 10-year period, from the time that we were young teenagers. I've always been a storyteller. So, and I always wanted to make film, but I was too fucked up, because nobody is going to give, you know, millions of dollars to some fucked up junkie, right? I ended up meeting a girl and falling in love and getting married and having 2 children, and I cleaned myself up. In my 40s, I saw Drugs from a Cowboy by Gus, and my reaction to the film, and it was a good film, was this motherfucker's in my territory. So I said it's now or never. If I'm going to make a film, I have to make it now. So my daughter was maybe 6 years old. My son was maybe 10 years old. And I looked around and I decided to make a film about what was happening with teenagers today. And, most all of my work had been autobiographical, and I didn't want to make a film about myself. I looked around at all the kids, and I thought that at least visually, of course, visually the most exciting teenagers were skateboarders. So I knew this kid named Tobin Yelland, and this kid was in my workshop, this skateboarder, and he had some photographs of the skateboarders that weren't very good, but I started teaching him, and I taught him, and I told him, I said, you're in this incredible world. You shouldn't just photograph skateboarders doing tricks. You should photograph your whole life, like I did in Tulsa. Tobin lived in San Francisco, and I live in New York. After the workshop, I said, okay, let's keep in touch. And he would send me photographs that he was making. And we talked on the phone for a year, and he became a very, very good photographer very, very quickly. When I decided that I wanted to make a film, and I wanted to make a film about the world of skateboarding and about these kids, Tobin kind of walked me into the world and told the kids I was okay. And I started hanging out with the kids. And at age 46 years old, 47 years old, I started skateboarding and learned how to skate, which was really crazy. So after breaking a lot of bonds, that they accepted me in their world as just another skater, just another guy, even though I was, 30 years older than them. I hung out with skateboarders for 3 years, I went to California and hung out with a bunch of great skaters, and then I came back to New York and started hanging out with the skaters in Washington Square Park. And that's how kids happen. So one day I was sitting in Washington Square Park, and this skate kid came up to me and sat next to me because I had my Leica. He knew who Robert Frank was, which was very unusual for some young kid to know who Robert Frank was. And so Harmony was just graduating from high school. And he told me that he was a writer, and that he wanted to write movies, he wanted to write screenplays, he wanted to make movies. And he said that he had written this short screenplay when he was in high school. 1 year later, I had written out the outline for the kids' movie. I had actually written a treatment out as to what was going to happen, because I was hanging out with these kids and I saw all these things happening. And and I saw this secret world of kids where no adults were allowed. And I kept a diary, and I wrote down everything I saw and everything that I had talked about with the kids and what they talked about. And so I wanted to make what I called a real movie, not a documentary. And I had the story, but I didn't have a screenplay. I had a writer who was a kid in this world who could, you know, write about what's going on, you know. And so I thought, you know, I met this kid Harmony a year ago, and I'd seen him once in one time after that during the year. And I said, gee, I met a kid a year ago who told me that he'd written this short screenplay. So I called him up, and I said, bring me your screenplay that you told me that you wrote. I read it, and it was very, very good. It was about a 20-minute, you know, it would have made about a 20-minute film. It was a kind of a screenplay that would not please adults. And so I asked Harmony to write a screenplay for kids. And so very quickly he wrote Kids for me. He was going to NYU, and I told him to quit school. And he went out to Brooklyn and was living with his grandmother, and he wrote Kids.